You will never be a real woman.
No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible. Your organization's terrible. Let's go. Go ahead. Quiet. Quiet. Go ahead. She's asking a question. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news.
Are you going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional
Well, I
Hispanic
would.
Caucus?
I tell you what. Do you want to set up the meeting? Do you want to set up the meeting?
No.
Are they friends of
I'm
yours?
Just a reporter.
No, set up the meeting.
I know some of them, but I'm sure
Let's
they're
go.
watching
Set up
right
a
now.
meeting. I would love to meet with the Black Caucus. I think it's great.
And we had the most beautiful piece of chocolate cake that you've ever seen. And President Xi was enjoying it. And I was given the message from the generals that the ships are locked and loaded. Look, he's a showboat. He's a grandstander. The FBI has been in turmoil. You know that. I know that.
And I love all people, rich or poor. But in those particular positions, I just don't want a poor person. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? This is a long time ago. Sold his company for a tremendous amount of money. And he went out and bought a big yacht. And he had a very interesting life. I won't go any more than that because you're Boy Scouts, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. Should I tell you? Should I tell you? Oh, you're Boy Scouts, but you know life. You know life. North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
The likes of which she's never seen.
Fire and fury.
Oh, if only.
What's going on, boys? How you doing? How was your
Good.
weekend?
Man. Busy.
Just
Mondays
chill.
are my kind of day off, but life's been busy. Got kicked off Twitter today.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you've been going hard in the paint now. Like,
Yeah, some dude in Germany glued his hand to cement, and they were like chipping it out.
Climate.
I said they should do something different, and Twitter did not like that.
Some climate guy.
Yeah,
They tend to be gluers.
yeah.
Was there one where it was like someone glued themselves to something, but it was like whatever it was they glued themselves to could just be unbolted? So they like, or there's like a handrail or something, they just unbolted it and squirted them out.
yeah, they like
awesome.
they like I remember the one you're talking about. Like they would just like pull out like a drill, and then all of a sudden they pull out the screws or whatever, and then all of a sudden they pull the bolts out, and all of a sudden they just brought them with the hand. They're sitting there dragging them with the handrail or whatever.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't know when people don't.
Those
plan their
people aren't the
outfit
brightest in the world, though. So I mean,
they're not, man. They're not.
No, there was a video going around the other day of like them just dragging them off the street by their hair. It was absolutely beautiful.
yeah, actually, I think I have that clip here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, dragging them from the climate protests. Here you go. Perfect execution. Watch this. The blonde chick is hilarious.
Brutal, man.
What?
I'm gonna go lay down again. Hold on.
It's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
She's like, I'm done.
Oh, nice. There's a chick doing it too.
I mean, this is what you have to do, because like if everybody doesn't work together on that, like that's the biggest thing to me. Whenever I see these kind of things, is like, okay, if everybody just gets out and makes these people get off the road, then the problem sorts itself out. But then there are like, where sometimes like that'll like they have people behind them that'll then come in and like, oh, you can't, they're outraged because you're moving the protesters or whatever.
Which too rough on them.
Yeah. Oh, you're too too hard on these people.
See, and I don't think
No,
it's
I
hard
mean,
enough.
no. You could have been much harder. I think that physically
Yeah,
removing them
slam
from the
them.
street, that was relatively
Yeah.
gentle. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody who wants to bitch about that can fuck off. Besides, I mean, the protesters
There's a lot of
are weak. They'll
weirdos
get
on
tired
Twitter
quickly.
There's a lot of weirdos on Twitter that are like sitting there defending them, like, oh no, like how dare
Yep.
you?
There are a lot of weirdos on Twitter. You hit the nail on the head.
And then I say something very innocent about like just getting rid of it at the wrist, and they get mad. Twitter gets mad.
Yeah, tends to not go over well on Twitter.
Yeah.
Make any comment about the protesters or anything.
Yeah, well, my last one got nuked because I said we need to bitch slap a certain person that was pushing a certain treatment. So somehow they thought that was inciting violence.
He's a frail old man.
Well, speaking of treatment, our RFK Jr. He stuck his foot in his mouth.
Dope.
No.
He said COVID was I don't know that he didn't say it like this. The actual article links to like what like he didn't say just like a ethnically targeted disparity. He said that basically like the data proves that those groups like it affects it doesn't affect I think you said Asian Americans and Jewish people as harshly, but they took it to mean that they created it to or something like
He's
that.
saying they developed it because
Yeah.
targeted.
Yeah. Let's see.
They want the college admissions all to themselves.
There's an argument that's ethnic. Well, he does. I mean, maybe he actually says it is ethnically targeted, but like what he's saying is that it attacks certain races disproportionately. That's literally the next line. He's saying it's targeted to attack Caucasians and Black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
I wonder if that statistic is actually true.
I don't know, but it does
wonder...
seem to. Well, I mean, so here's another thing to factor in too, because we know that it attacks the obese more than more than the average person. Like if you're average height weight, like your BMI is decent.
And what are the fattest races?
Yeah. What are the
The
fattest
whites and
races?
blacks are the fattest. Yeah.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? So that's probably what's weighing that statistic down.
So
institutional racism, of course.
Correct. so he's statistically correct.
Systemic racism.
He's just not politically correct.
Yeah, he's not saying it politically correct for sure. Like I think even bringing this statistic up is offensive to people because they don't want to acknowledge that this could be a possibility, that this could and it could be like what I was saying, like it's that like white people and Black people like specifically are more just like obese in general, like on average, and then Jewish people and Chinese people are generally not. I mean, you could probably, I guarantee, probably even Japanese, like just the Asian cultures in general, they typically discourage like being morbidly obese.
You might get some chunky Pacific Islanders, but
it could also be because of the all the crap in our food and the GMOs and everything's like caked with all kinds of chemicals, and like that could be a big part of it too. Like.
Can I actually jump in here? I should have found an article and submitted it, but I saw in the local news a story they kept talking about here recently where they're like, oh, new study finds that heavy metals and stuff that are in everything that we eat and drink can be responsible for surprise heart attacks and strokes. So it's in your fruit juice, in your food, in anything you get from a store has heavy metals in it that's going to give you a heart attack and stroke. So at first I'm like, oh, like, are they admitting the food's toxic? But then I'm like, oh, is this also like a cover up for that medical treatment? You know? Like,
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like, man, what's going on here?
that's the thing, though. Now we don't know what's like. If they would just be like honest, like that would be the biggest thing. Is like if they're being honest, um, he's just gonna send mountain pics the whole time. Justin said, "Oh, good." But if they would just be forthcoming and honest and say, okay, here's what it actually affects, and here's what the but they're so trying to disguise and trying to guise like, okay, the treatment is just perfect, like this is the it's infallible, like completely infallible. And if you question it, then you're some kind of science denier. But if they would just either acknowledge what's actually going on, then we wouldn't have to sit here and question, like you said, every time. Like, okay, well, they say something like, "Oh, this is bringing up some risk, like if there's more metals in your food or something like this, and all this kind of stuff that's into your processed into your food." Then you have to sit there and say, "Well, wait a second, maybe it's some other like medical reason." But like if they would just be honest about it, I don't think we would have to question that. We wouldn't have to sit there and go, well, are they really trying to run cover for it?
Right, and it makes it tough to think, like, if you're trying to make decisions for, like, you and your family as far as what you consume, it can be just so hard to filter out the bullshit, as to what's true and what's not. Because as long as my mom's always kind of been into, she reads and whatever the new study is and health food and this and that. So I was brought up with a lot of health food, but it's just the stuff I've heard over the years and how much it changes. And, oh, this is what's good for you. Now that's what's good for you.
Well, I mean, even like on Twitter, like if you look on Twitter, there's like the fitness or the like health side of Twitter, and like one of the libertarian guys that I follow, Kyle Matovic, he talks about this kind of stuff a lot, where and I think he leans too much into the, like, he believes the science like a lot more, generally speaking, like believes scientific studies and that kind of stuff, whereas I'm more of a skeptic when it comes to a lot of that. But still sitting there going like, the people who are like, oh, no seed oils, no this, no that, like, you need to like cut all this stuff out, you need to be like, just do the carnivore diet or whatever. I don't think that always works for everybody. I think I think there is some subjectivity, like, to based on your body and how your body responds to different diets and stuff like that. But that's something that like we just don't, like, nobody seems to care about. We want to have like a general, I mean, like even like the food pyramid that we learned as kids, like that stuff, we know that stuff's fake. We know that's not like, that's not necessarily the best dietary form of
oh man, and if you're not familiar with the history of how that came to being, there's like books and shit written on it. But yeah, it was totally corporate approved, corporate submitted. Like, it was the grain industry. The grain industry. You told us to eat 11 servings of grain a day. That's what I was brought up being told. That's what, and it's still embedded. Oh yeah, no, your whole grains, it's healthy and this and that, and cereal, part of a balanced breakfast, and all this and that. And it's fucking trash, man.
No, now they just change it to like, okay, well, now you can still have your grain, but we get gluten-free stuff. It's like,
yeah. I don't know if the gluten was the problem. Really, it's fuck, man. What I see something the other day, they're talking about the glyphosate, and it's just the amount of glyphosate that we eat. Oh, and because the grain is the glyphosate is accompanying the grain, like we're getting so much of that shit, and that might be causing problems too. So who knows?
Corey would never miss the vasectomy clubhouse. See, I haven't joined the vasectomy clubhouse here, so.
Are your vas deferens intact, Steve?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You're not severing that cord.
Never.
Oh shit.
I don't go under the knife for anything, man.
I want to like make some technical argument that it wasn't actually a knife they use nowadays, but I don't know what it's actually called. So, in the spirit of what you're saying, I get what you're saying, and I don't. Yeah.
There's a doctor here in where I live that's famous.
Dag wanted to go with the autistic thing, but
that's famous for doing what?
His own. He did it.
He did his own.
Yes.
Oh.
Because that's what he does, man. That's all he does is that. And he did his own because he didn't trust anybody else.
We've got a doctor here who does them, and it's probably there's probably one in every state. But he's got like billboards all over the state that say like, over, 1 million vasectomies performed, and it's his face. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like putting your face next to that statement is like, I've touched 2 million testicles, But he's the guy who did mine. And he did a great job. Very effeminate voice, which was off-putting, to be honest. But I guess he travels all over the world and does them in third world countries for poor people and shit. But he's touched a lot of scrotums. Claim to fame. Yeah.
Speaking of touching scrotums, I guess. Weird way to go. Justin Trudeau blames American right wing for Muslims opposing LGBTQ curriculum. Leave our kids
that man
alone.
touched a lot of scrotums. Look at that. Looks like he's got a handful of scrotums right there.
You
could do the Dark Brandon meme over that one.
3 invisible dicks. 3 invisible dicks.
There's one there, one here, one here. Like that. That's his. Like gangbang.
Yeah.
Between him and Biden.
Oh god. Well, but see, Biden gets the young ones. That's the difference.
This is true.
Like, who knows? Trudeau may even be getting the old guys. I can't. They might like a young. They might like a young whippersnapper like him.
Young handsome fellow like Trudeau. He probably does get his ass pinched the most at the Bohemian Grove parties.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, well, between him and Gavin Newsom, like those two guys, because they're trying to present the suave look. You know what I mean?
You could swap those guys. Those guys could swap places, and I wouldn't even notice. Like I can't really tell them apart. They could just swap, and I wouldn't even tell.
You just need to make his hair a little bit more gray, and then he would look like Gavin Newsom, basically.
Yeah, a little flatter, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, flatten it down, make it less like kind of do a comb over with it, and then make it gray, and then all of a sudden he's Gavin Newsom. They're literally
some avocado breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. What is he saying here? What's going on?
So he blames the American right wing for Muslims opposing the LGBTQ curriculum stuff. Leave our kids alone. So basically, because we're over here in America, we're saying to leave the kids alone and not teach them all this stuff. He's basically saying like you have to be tolerant. He's like saying like if you don't want to suffer prejudice, like that's you don't want to deal with that because it's different than you. That's like this is what the teachers are saying. Like they don't want to be oppressed by the LGBT stuff, but then that's like the in the Muslim school, and he's saying let's see where does he say it? First of all, there's awful lot of misinformation and disinformation. Of course, they have to say that. And the American right wing are spreading a lot of untruths about what's actually in the curriculum. So why can't when they say that there's a lot of misinformation about this stuff, like when they say that like we're lying about that they're teaching kids about like gay sex or whatever, like why can't they just say that like okay, here's what's actually in the curriculum. We really aren't teaching that. Maybe these books are just available or like like available for the older students. Like if you were saying something like that, okay, like this is for high school students. Maybe you have a point, but then like you can't be having like you can't be just saying like okay, you're wrong, bro. Like in that's not how the argument works. That's not how that functionally works.
They read some book on skanks a week or two ago. That I guess maybe it was a Canadian or California teacher got fired for like reading to her students, like her young students about like being non-binary or something. She's like, there's nothing in there that's inappropriate or whatever. And so like they read the book like on the show, and like and I'm gonna go ahead and admit like usually when there's something like this like the banned books, I'm like, oh, people are probably freaking out about nothing. It's probably nothing, and then they like read something out of the book, and I'm like, oh my god, like Like I'm not a square, right? Like I'm pretty
Yeah.
libertine in a lot of ways. I'm like, oh yeah, like I definitely see their point. It is usually the shit they're really defending. Like even from the let's say from the pro let the kids have whatever book side, it's like I don't know, man. Some of the hills they choose to die on is pretty rough, even if you're just like anti-censorship, right? It's like, I don't know. Like I said, a lot of times when I do hear whatever it is that they're opposed to, I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds fair to me. Maybe that shouldn't be in the fucking elementary school library.
It's like
this,
they banned some kind of like manga because it depicted, I forget what it depicted. It was depicting something violent or something like that. It was depicting a school shooting or something like that. But there was like a I don't know, some kind of superhero character that was stopping the trying to stop the school shooting. But because there was the violence and because there was the school shooting, because that kind of like hit close to home, they banned that book. And I disagreed with that because I was like, okay, well, this is like fantasy, and this is something that like, if it's depicting something, and just because it's too close to the real world, it's similar to the argument that they were trying to like get, like if you played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 back in the day, because they had that one mission where you actually shoot up an airport, and then they were like, okay, after 9/11, like that's a little bit too close, hits too close to home. And it's just because those
they
events
didn't shoot up any airports in 9/11. Like that's the whole bullshit of that argument. Like,
yeah.
It's
But they're saying like,
yeah.
well, they're saying like it's promoting like terrorist attacks like 9/11. That was their sort of their
all
argument.
of Call of
It's
Duty
BS.
promotes
I mean,
terrorist attacks. I mean,
it
all of Call of
feels
Duty promotes
adjacent,
terrorist attacks.
but yeah, it's not the same thing. Yeah.
But the whole thing
But
with the whole banning the books is, first of all, that whole line is absolute bullshit because they're not banning books. They're just saying it can't be in this school. It's not like you can't
agreed.
order the book on Amazon. It's not like you can't find the book. It's not like you can't buy the book.
That's why I hate that term. Cocaine's banned. That book isn't banned.
Yeah. And so,
well, not the White House.
Then they say like, oh, it's just sex education. Well, no, it's not sex education. Like, it's not. That's like kink is not sex education.
No.
If you want to teach sex education, it's pretty simple. It's not a very long class. It's a pretty simple class. This goes into here. This goes into there.
Yeah.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Here's how periods work.
Yeah.
You might notice more fur where there wasn't fur before.
Then came the wedding night.
Yep.
See,
that's the line, right?
Yeah, that is. You might notice fur where there's no fur before. Yeah, no. That but the whole thing is it's ridiculous because the idea of banning the book it's a lie. Like, so they can't even tell the truth. Their argument doesn't even start on truth. It starts on lies. So how am I going to believe anything else you say when you're being dishonest when you start your argument? Like, if you can't even start the argument from a good faith point of like, yes, I understand this could be a little hard for people, but like, you got to get through it. I didn't catch that. Sorry.
He says, I don't know who LOS like is making real world points. Hard to stop them on it. What is he talking about? LOS? I don't know what that is.
Legion of Skanks.
Oh, okay. Legion of Skanks. Okay,
yeah.
You have never listened to that show.
Like,
I haven't listened to them.
I
used to listen religiously,
but I like.
I've been listening to them for I don't know, like 5 years. But yeah, sometimes more religiously than others. They're funny. I think Big J's pretty fucking hilarious, and then they've got good guests. They have like Mark Norman and Shane Gillis on like at least like once a month typically.
The one I've been listening to the most lately has been Tinfoil Hat.
I used to listen to that one a bit. I've heard Sam Tripoli on some other shows. I saw him at Float Fest, the first Float Fest. He like performed there doing like stand up comedy. But yeah, that used to be a decent show, but it's been a long time since I've listened to it. You like it then?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, everything evolves eventually. I think it's good. I think there's some shows that you listen to that you're like, oh, this is great, and some I'm 10 minutes in going, yeah, no, skip.
Yeah. Conspiracy stuff can either be really interesting or just if it's not up your alley, man.
No, I love the conspiracy stuff. It's fun.
Is that still like the main like deal with the show?
Yeah.
Okay. I assume he would change the name from Tinfoil Hat if he really changed topics.
Yeah.
that much.
But I mean, yeah. So going back to the book thing, like it's got to be like there's got to be a point where we demand that they have an honest conversation about it, where they're actually being honest about the whole situation. But they can't be honest because I mean, if you've read the books, like if you've seen all the videos where the parents are in the student or the school board meetings where they're reading,
And then they tell
reading it.
them like, "Oh no, you can't say
Yeah,
that
oh, you
here 'cause
can't
that's-"
read that here. You can't. That's sexually involved. It's like, well, then why are you giving it to my kid? You know, and then they're being like put on FBI watch list because they're
Well,
going to.
so here's
meetings.
the creative out for a lot of them is that they're like, okay, this isn't necessarily like on what a lot of their argument boils down to is like, okay, this isn't on their reading list, and then but it's like in like a you know an elementary school library, like of something like depicting like actual like gay sex or something like that, and then they're trying to defend it because they're like, okay, well, your kid doesn't have to see that. Like if some 12-year-old wants to go get it, they can go get it. And that's sort of the argument, but they don't want to have that tough conversation. They don't want to be like, okay, well, do we need to have some mediation? Because I think that argument kind of they feel like has been settled. Like they don't feel like they need to argue that again. You see what I'm saying? Because like there was the whole point of like, okay, well, we should be puritanical, like, have no nothing about sex, and then we basically instituted like, okay, you can have sexual education. So now they're going to use that as that's the final argument. Like they don't think they need to argue it anymore. Like,
Yeah.
they don't think that they need to have this conversation again. Like, okay, we already had this conversation. That's sort of their position, from what I gather. Is like they think that we've already had this conversation. If your kids, if you feel like your kids should be taught something about sex, and if you don't like it, then you're gonna have to figure out something else. I just think that they should be they should be honest, but it's such a difficult position for them because if they cede that ground, then it makes it more difficult for them I guess in the future because they need to have something to fight for. I guess that they need to have something. The activist groups like LGBT activist groups, that they need something to fight for, and this is something reasonable to fight for because like, okay, well, now we're getting pushback because we're putting actual
It's
sexual
all around. I
activity.
mean, they're definitely the squeakiest wheel. Like now, it seems like. But I mean, it's I remember like in like the '90s with like music lyrics and stuff. It was another group of people who were protesting that. There's always some people bitching about something, man. Some people are just fucking busybodies, man. It's
and I get that some people like I agree, like, so
I'm not excusing it,
music
I'm busybodies just bother me all around. I don't care what side they're on, like fuck off. But like, well, like we're listening to the Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and I've read it before, but it's so good. Like the big like lesson that like I take away from that book is like, there's some people are just fucking. Some people are like. They sort of take they're sort of like a revolution thing, and they take like people who are like the people who really just want to get in there and like be like the busybody government people, and they just make it. They know they're going to be that way, so they give them endless tasks, like endless meetings, and they just keep them busy being government busybodies planning shit, but give them no real power, just the illusion of power, because they're like, look, we have to accept some people are going to do this, so just let them think they're doing it. Keep out of the fucking out of our hair.
That happens in reality. That's what's funny is because that mirrors a lot of reality. Because think about like like someone like AOC, like, okay, like she's never gonna hold any real power. I mean, she's driving a lot of the narratives because she's being a part of it, but she's never gonna have any real power. Like that's what's funny about the even the right wingers spurting out about AOC is like. You realize she doesn't really hold any power. She's just driving what was already like kind of the energy that was kind of already there. Like
she's their new Nancy Pelosi. She's the person that takes all the hits, that says all the bullshit, and then she might have in let's say I don't know what about 6 to 10 years she might have some power, but she has zero power.
Well, I mean, even Nancy, like she would have to say like, okay, well. This is something that we had to work with the president on. She wouldn't just say like, oh, we're gonna pass this legislation and Biden's gonna sign it. like that. Nancy Pelosi never said anything like that.
No, she did during the Obamacare. She was like, "Well, we're going to pass this. You just have to deal with it." Like, what was the? You'll read the bill after we pass the bill or something like that.
Yeah, we have to pass it to find out what's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she pushed. I think later in her career, she pushed that stuff. But it wasn't. It was in her first 100 years there. She didn't.
Her first century on the bench.
Yeah, she didn't push that. She wasn't that way then, but she became that way eventually.
Howdy, Jewish redneck.
What up, Jewish redneck prepper? That's a new one.
So yeah, let's talk about I guess the real conspiracies. There were real.
We just got a Jewish viewer, man. Come on, don't go blowing it right away.
Don't drive him away already.
Let's talk about prepping
instead. Justin's not on this week, right?
It depends on. See, I've got to fill that vacuum. Okay, like that. I got to fill that role. I guess it depends on their alliance, like their view of Ukraine, whether or not is that a Jewish thing? I don't know. Like.
The Ukraine? I don't know.
Tucker, every city. So let's listen to this clip. This clip has been the best clip we got this weekend. And I thank the Blaze for doing this kind of thing because this is hilarious.
You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks. Every city in the United States has become.
Look at him. He looks so pissed.
Over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. Right. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find,
look at them,
who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars,
he's
don't
so
have
upset.
tanks. I think fair question to ask, like, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern.
Like just the gall to sit there and listen to that. I don't think he was really listening, but like the gall to say.
Well, if you let the rest of that speech go, just go to the very end.
Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern. I'm running for
Tucker's
president of the United States because I think this country's in a lot of trouble.
Go to the very end.
I think Joe Biden is weak and solve our problems at home, has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth. We can do both.
You are
they cut it off because he goes through the speech and at the very end Tucker's like, oh yeah, like Tucker's totally zoned out.
Yeah,
beautiful.
We'll see, where's the but yeah, then Aaron McIntyre had the best commentary on this too. Like I like Aaron, he's good about stuff. But here's you should watch his show. He's part of the Blaze now. But
I've heard I've heard he was really good.
I want a president that looks at me the way that Mike Pence looks at a Ukrainian. I want a president that loves me the way that Mike Pence loves a random Ukrainian he meets when he's over there. That story about the Stinger missiles. Yeah. Man, I wish I was telling that story about the lives of children and family members saved because the border is secure. I wish I was hearing that story because the police are cracking down on crime and saving lives in American cities. I want a president who cares about the people of this country with that level of intensity.
I mean, he's not wrong. Like
no.
It's just so funny that they can get up there and they can sit there. And what he's talking about is part of that clip too is basically he's trying to get everybody to sympathize with Ukraine because like he's saying like, oh yeah, I talked to one of the soldiers and they watched their brother get blasted. That he's talking about the Stinger missile because like, oh, I watched my brother get like he talks about how he watched his brother get shot by like it's blown up by the Stinger missile or whatever, and he's trying to like paint that whole story and it's like he's like why can't we tell those stories about like American citizens like how much you care about them? It's so hilarious.
Yeah.
Just that he would like Tucker gave Mike Pence all the rope and he could have tied a knot. He could have done all these other things, and he just decided to take the plunge.
That was that was the nail in the coffin for his campaign right there.
Whether
I'd heard about that line, but I hadn't actually seen the context. Was he just doing like an interview thing? I didn't know Mike Pence was like
doing
running.
all of them. He did Vivek. He did Nikki Haley. He did everybody but Trump. He didn't do Trump, did he?
Trump was the only one. I don't know if he was the only one that wasn't there. I don't know if he didn't get an invite or what. It seemed like all the other candidates. I mean,
I'm sure he got an invite because that was Beck's thing, and Beck like blows Trump every chance he gets.
I don't think he has lately. It seems like lately that he's been for DeSantis. I don't know. That's just the vibe that I get. I don't know.
I think it's a mistake for Florida. They shouldn't lose DeSantis. I don't think he'd be a good president, but I also don't think it'd be good for Florida to lose him.
Oh no! I guarantee Dag's up there. He's like, no, please. Like even if I don't like some of the things DeSantis does, leave him here. Like don't.
If anything, it's funnier him being here. So
yeah,
that's that's the goal.
It makes the. I mean, I guess it's similar to Trump being president, right? Like it makes the people that the like busybody people like mad nowadays. So.
Yeah, and it's just kind of something for me to be kind of like trollish about, like in real life. That I can be like, yeah, free state of Florida, King DeSantis. So it's just it's just more fun. Like because if he left, like I don't know who do we even have.
Probably somebody boring.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get some neocon bomb Cuba from Florida.
You might get somebody like Chris Christie.
Is he still around?
He's trying to run for president.
Oh, get out!
Yeah, I thought he bid it during COVID.
No, he was close. He had like a real bad
guy. Yeah, when they closed the beach, him and his family went to the beach, and there was a picture of him in the lawn chair. I had a picture. I saved it. I meant to send it to the group chat. It came up in my memories from it was like 2015, and it was a picture of Trump and the Grimace, like. I don't know, in like a commercial together or something next to each other. And
awesome.
I had captioned it Trump Christie 2016. I came back, I was so proud of myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have to dig it up and send it to the chat, but yeah.
Yeah, Christie wanted to be his VP so bad.
Yeah. Oh man, a New Yorker and a New Jerseyer.
That would be
God, it's
terrible.
like a Floridian's worst nightmare. Yeah.
The whole country would be under mob rule.
Oh.
There we go.
The mafia. The
in a more literal sense than we usually mean it.
My absolute favorite Chris Christie moment was where he was dumping the one box of M&Ms into the other box of M&Ms.
I forgot about that. Wait, where's the clip? Man. Can I find the clip?
Oh god, that was absolutely hilarious.
Oh
yeah, man!
It's one of the top searches.
Is it?
Wait, where's the? Here, wait. He actually did it on SNL. No way. Wait, no, not SNL. Late night. He did it on one of the late night shows.
Well, he did it like there was a basketball game or something that he was at.
No, not that one.
Originally did it.
Stop. There's
probably a lot of parodies of it or something like the SNLs and the like.
It was a baseball game, I think, maybe.
Yeah, he's defending it.
And there's a bag of M&Ms inside the box of M&Ms. It's an empty box with a bag of M&Ms in it. So then you got a big choice to make. Do you eat them out of the bag, or do you pour them into the box? What are you talking about? No pour. That's not an option. Sure it is. No one pours. Right there. No, but you're doing. I guess it is an option. Yes, because the bag is flimsy. Right? What are you talking about? It's flimsy. And then you're the bag is flimsy. Listen, the bag.
Okay. Points to him.
I
sympathize.
Candy out of a box is nice. That's why it's like that at the movies. Yeah. It stacks better than a display case. I get that. But to put a bag inside a box is just silly.
Yeah.
Out and about on a box. Give me a box of snow caps, a box of Junior Mints.
Well, no,
if you're at
he's
a baseball
saying
game, you're going to be spending like $300 on that box too. So,
well, he was saying he has the bag, and then he also got a box, but then like the bag. What he was trying to say is like, if you have the bag and you're just eating out of the bag, wouldn't you rather have them in the box than? Yeah, it's stupid.
Thought into eating candy before.
Well, see, the box is the optimal facilitator for getting that candy out of there. Like the bag, like you're gonna drop, you're gonna spill some. Or
it gets held up in the nooks and crannies of the bag in the corner. Yeah, exactly, man. That's why box is the way to go for, especially a nice round candy. You know, just the optics though for someone like Chris Christie, where everyone just makes fun of him for being a big gross fat ass. Anyhow, is why are you eating just chocolate M&Ms at like in public? Like just cool it for a couple hours, dude. Eat a hot dog like a normal person, you know, but you don't have to be eating candy all the time. Isn't there like famous pictures of him eating ice cream and all sorts of other junk? You know, he's like, I'm gonna ban marijuana or whatever, and he's like shoving down like 3 fucking double scoop cones. Like, oh, dude.
Like maybe you should have the California rules imposed on you, like you, like, okay, you know, instead of having the like Route 44 type, big like extra large like the style drink, maybe you need to have the small soda for once, like
just for appearances, dude. You know, just tone
You're
it
out
down.
in public, man. You don't need to be shoving down a box and a bag of M&Ms.
A bag of boxes of bags of M&Ms.
See, Corey does have a point. Like, is joking. Like, you sitting there eating a hot dog. Does anybody want to be photographed eating a hot dog? I know, I don't. Like, because
I'm just thinking.
Immediately,
and
there's going to be a context.
That's gonna be the next. That's gonna be the next picture Justin makes for the things all you guys eating hot dogs.
A lot of us have eaten sausage-shaped meats on air, but I'm
Mark
just saying,
with the
this is D trying to be political, okay? But like, if you're at the American pastime of a baseball game, I feel like you have to be seen eating a hot dog or something, right? Though, like that's all I'm saying. You know, it's just like I feel like you should be eating
or
something.
Just drink
you
a
need
beer.
to be. You could just drink a beer. Yeah, you could get away with just a beer. That's an excellent middle ground. Yeah, that's about as American as it gets.
Peanuts, Cracker Jack, hot dog, beer, not a freaking M&Ms.
Kind of foods are shaped like dicks. I'm just finishing up a real beauty, a real veiny monster.
Oh, that's funny.
That is the best
like
part
the
of the
people
movie.
who like joke about the Snickers, like, you know, because it has the vein or whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is the most like sexual candy.
There are candy dicks out there. There are gummy shaped dicks.
Yeah.
Dick shaped gummies. Sorry.
I sent a bag of those to somebody once.
We got these weed gummies from the vape shop, and the chick was like, "You guys want a sample?" And we're like, "Yeah." And she kept telling us that they were like rocket ship shaped, again and again and again. Oh, you have one? Okay. And I kept thinking it was odd why she kept pointing out that they're rocket ship shaped. And then when she pulled it out of the bag, I was like, "Oh, because they kind of look like dicks." So I think she just wanted to prep us.
Like,
Yeah,
these are rocket ships, not
not penises. Before I pull these out of the bag, I just want to let you know. Well, even today, they like make a new production line down at the fucking.
She says it like
bachelorette
45
party store or
times because
something.
she's all embarrassed to pull them out.
Oh shit! Oh
Okay,
man,
guys,
these are better.
I actually got to bounce. I got something I have to deal with right now.
Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Sorry, I got
See
to
you,
run.
Steve.
Bye, guys.
All right, I guess let's run another clip and then we can call this a show here.
Cool, we're just getting to the job site now.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Now, logically, what do you think about that statement?
Man, if you, and this is just because like a lot of people I know who I don't think are evil people or anything, but that is, and it's something that I believe for a long time, that there's just too many people, you know? it's a very commonly held, I don't know if belief is the right word, but it's a very commonly held position. You know, I don't necessarily think it's out of like malice. I don't think it's a knowing hatred of humanity, because when I thought that, I didn't necessarily hate humanity, you know, but like I sort of do see it that way now, you know, and then, you know, a little bit of economics sort of shows that it's not necessarily true. I've never read any Dr. Malthus or anything, so I don't know, but like, because didn't fucking what's his face old Gatesy Poo, he said something along those lines too about the vaccines, which from the standpoint of if you think that it's like, you know, okay, if when people make more money and do better and are healthier, they have less kids, right? People having 9 children is usually like a symptom of like extreme poverty or third world this or something, right? Like, don't quote me on any of this, or this is just like the general vibe, all right? I don't know if any of it's fucking true. But
well, I mean, statistics do prove that out. That the
but
lower
there
income.
could be any number of reasons for that.
Yeah.
So that's what they say that, you know, he, you know, Gates meant by that was, when he says reduce population through vaccines, it doesn't mean, you know, we're poisoning people with vaccines. What he's saying is when, you know, people do better, more of their children survive, they have less children, and it's less of a strain of resources. Which, you know, if you take it at value, then that's, you know, okay. I guess I could see where he's coming from if he's being honest. I don't think he is, but
yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
so I don't know. That was weird of her to say that there, though. Like, at least in the Gates thing, in the Gates incident, I could.
He's trying to talk about.
You
something
could sell me the
scientifically.
argument.
Yeah, he's trying to make a scientific case for whatever like that he's trying to say. Which, I mean, I still disagree. I still think that there's like
Sure.
that's something that he's trying to like push for more than what we're actually. He's not looking at actual data or anything. He's just trying to push something that he believes in. Like that's his personal belief. That's almost, you know, that's almost like a religious thing. He's believing in that. Like he hasn't even. I mean, they try to look at some data like, oh, hey, maybe if we reduce this, but there's no like actual. They're not looking at it from the holistic point of view. So I just think it's.
You think she's just trying to tap into that same sentiment or that same group of people who feel that way, or something weirder?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the whole. That's part of why they're saying the climate stuff. Like they're trying to push the whole climate agenda, like stuff like, hey, we need to pull back and we need to have more EVs and this kind of stuff. Which I'm not necessarily opposed to EV stuff like that. That's where like a lot of people like if I say that I don't like the way that a lot of EV companies are running or whatever, someone would just think like, okay, you're just anti-EV or whatever. Like, okay, well, I would rather have a gas-powered car. But that doesn't mean that I got an electric chainsaw recently. That doesn't mean that I don't want an electric chainsaw. Like that seems to be way more efficient. I don't have to get the oil.
So much less maintenance, so much cleaner. Yeah, man. Electric appliance. If I can get something electric versus gas and it's practical, usually I'll choose the electric option because it makes so much more sense for so many reasons, you know. But that's why it's very situational, because I run into similar things because I'm sorry I talk about this ad nauseum on this show. I feel like, but like I hate when people just. I mention electric cars and they go off about like all the negatives about like, oh, well, it's a longer exhaust pipe or they shouldn't be. I like agree with, and I'm like, but that doesn't mean that just in essence an electric car is bad, right? We could say, what if it was powered by different technology? What if batteries came from different places? What if, you know, maybe certain circumstances they maybe in a really congested city with smog and shit, you know, like there's circumstantially, but now like for me, I might drive 200-300 miles a day for work. It might not be feasible for me, you know, but you know, I know people who have the Chevy Volt, and you know, they only put a tank of gas in it every 6 months, you know, so it's like it works for them very well. So it just, you know, it just depends. But yeah, whenever something's forced like this, you know, and that's whenever you try to force an idea before it's time, you fuck it up. And it sucks because I hate that like the environmentalists fuck up a lot of really good potential technology for us. And by the same token, the anti-environmentalists, you know, really fuck up a lot of potential good technology for us because it sort of gets to be like a political position. You know, people get really entrenched in it, and it's like, fuck, can't we just take a step back and like use technology for what it's good at, understand that things are going to develop and evolve, and if something is worth a shit, it will come to be, and if it's not, it won't, you know. But I'm also a market fetishist, so I might be biased that way.
Well, or all those other people are just retarded.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.